Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm Steve Fisher, and today, in episode 35, we're stepping into the next critical phase of the Spectrum Foresight Method, the designing phase. Last episode, we explored the exploring phase, where we gathered signals of change, identified trends, and mapped patterns shaping the future. But recognizing trends is not enough. We have to build usable, realistic scenarios that help us navigate uncertainty. And here's the twist. Most scenario methods oversimplify the future. Traditional approaches, like the 2x2 uncertainty matrix, CLA, or the University of Houston's archetype framework, are useful but rigid. They force us to categorize the future into singular dominant narratives: transformation, collapse, equilibrium, or new growth. But here's the problem. The future isn't that neat.
In reality, multiple futures exist at the same time. What feels like transformation for one group could feel like collapse for another. One company's golden age is another industry's extinction event. That's why Spectrum Foresight takes a different approach. We don't design isolated futures. We design layered, coexisting realities within the same world. So today, we'll learn how to build dynamic, multi-perspective scenarios that reflect the complexity of real change. Let's dive into the shift from exploration to design.
Once we've gathered our signals, identified trends, and started mapping potential trajectories, the next question is, what do we do with all this information? The answer lies in scenario design. At its core, scenario thinking is about creating plausible, diverse, and strategically useful stories about the future. These aren't predictions. Instead, they're structured explorations of what could happen, providing us with a way to test ideas, assess risks, and discover new opportunities before they arrive. Imagine you're designing a new city. You wouldn't just pick a random spot and start building. You'd consider different environmental factors, infrastructure needs, and future expansion possibilities. That's exactly what scenario planning does for foresight. It helps us build adaptable strategies rather than reacting to the future when it's too late. Beyond traditional scenarios, why we need a new approach? Most scenario planning frameworks assume that one future dominates the landscape. The 2x2 matrix, for example, gives us 4 possible futures, each one existing as a separate world.
Framework foresight models like transformation, collapse, and equilibrium do the same thing, defining the future as a single trajectory for everyone.
But the world doesn't work that way.
Take AI adoption as an example. If we followed traditional scenario planning, we'd pick a dominant outcome. Scenario 1, AI causes widespread transformation and prosperity.
Scenario 2, AI leads to economic collapse and mass unemployment. Scenario 3, AI integrates into the workforce, but things remain stable. Scenario 4, AI advances slow due to regulation, delaying any major impact. Each of these treats the future as a singular experience, as if everyone will go through the same shift at the same time. But in reality, AI is already transformative for startups and automation companies. AI is equilibrium for software engineers and consultants who are adapting. AI feels like collapse for content marketers and copywriters whose jobs are being eliminated. AI is irrelevant for some industries where automation doesn't apply. So which scenario is right? All of them. The key is to recognize that futures don't happen uniformly. They unfold differently for different groups at the same time. That's why Spectrum Foresight rejects rigid futures and instead builds layered, multi-experiential worlds.
Step 1, framing the scenario space. Before we can design a scenario, we need to define its scope and boundaries. This means asking, what is the central issue or question we're exploring? Are we looking at the future of work, healthcare, climate change, or a specific industry shift? What is our time horizon? Are we looking 5 years out? 10? 50? Different time frames will reveal different insights. What are the major forces shaping this space? We return to our exploring phase insights and identify which trends and drivers are most influential. For example, if we're looking at the future of work, we might identify 2 major uncertainties. 1. Will AI be an augmentation tool or a full replacement for human workers? 2. Will society and policy adapt quickly to these changes or struggle to keep up?
Step 2, designing layered scenarios. While some forces shaping the future are predictable, think demographic trends or climate shifts, others are filled with uncertainty. These uncertainties, especially high-impact, high-unknown variables, are what drive our scenarios. Now, instead of placing these forces into rigid futures, we use Spectrum scenario design to explore how different groups experience the same future differently. Case study: the future of AI and work. Let's map 3 major experiences happening simultaneously. 1. Transformation. AI startups, automation companies, and major tech firms are thriving. AI is unlocking new efficiencies, driving innovation, and creating whole new industries. These groups see AI as the dawn of an economic boom. 2. Equilibrium. Software engineers, management consultants, and high-level knowledge workers are adapting. AI is changing their work, but they're staying ahead by upskilling, learning prompt engineering, and integrating AI into their workflows. 3. Collapse. Content marketers, copywriters, and older professionals who can't or won't retrain are struggling. Their industries are being automated at rapid speed, wages are plummeting, and many are unable to compete with AI-generated content.
These aren't separate scenarios. They are different lived realities within the same future.
Instead of saying, in 2035, AI will dominate work, we ask, who benefits, who adapts, who struggles? What tensions emerge between these groups?
Where do unexpected alliances form?
How do people resist or shape this change? This approach gives us a more dynamic, multi-perspective future, one that actually reflects how change happens unevenly in the real world.
Step 3. Applying multi-perspective scenarios to strategy.
Once we've built a layered future, the next step is using it for better decision-making. If you apply your expanded layered analysis inside individual scenarios, it helps create richer, multi-dimensional worlds. Each scenario can be broken down through different layers of reality, showing the interplay between structures, beliefs, and narratives within that world. This approach ensures scenarios aren't flat but textured and layered, revealing depth in how different groups interpret and experience the same future. If you use these layers before scenario creation, it helps map out the broader environment before diving into specific futures. This approach allows you to build a future landscape first, identifying key social, cultural, economic, and technological forces that influence all scenarios. Then, when you move into scenario creation, those shared contextual layers provide the foundation that shapes multiple futures. Spectrum Layered Analysis, SLA, a multi-dimensional future mapping tool. 1. Surface events and discourse, the observable world. What is happening at the visible level? What is the dominant media narrative, political discussion, or immediate issue people are reacting to? 2. Structures and systemic drivers, the institutional and economic layer. What economic, technological, regulatory, or infrastructural systems are enabling or constraining change?
3. Power and agency, the actors and influence layer. Who holds power and control in this future? Who are the key decision makers, enforcers, and resistors shaping how this world unfolds?
4. Cultural and psychological perception, the experience layer. How do different groups perceive this world? What biases, fears, aspirations, and psychological conditions shape how they navigate it?
5. Conflict and tensions, the friction layer. Where do opposing forces clash? What are the fault lines, struggles, and dynamics of resistance versus acceleration within this future? 6. Narratives and belief systems, the worldview layer. What ideologies, myths, and societal stories are shaping behavior and decision-making in this world? 7. Archetypes and deep metaphors, the underlying mythic layer. What symbols, archetypes, or deep-rooted stories define this future at a subconscious level? What emotional and existential truths underpin its structure? Traditional scenarios force companies and governments to pick one path. But with Spectrum scenarios, we build adaptive strategies that account for different realities coexisting. How this works inside scenarios. Let's apply Spectrum Layered Analysis, SLA, to an AI-driven future where automation has transformed work. Scenario: the algorithmic economy. 1. Surface events and discourse. The global economy has fully integrated AI into the workforce. Governments debate universal basic income, UBI policies, job markets fluctuate, and media headlines celebrate the productivity boom, while quietly noting growing inequality. 2. Structures and systemic drivers. AI-driven automation and algorithms dictate hiring, production, and economic distribution. Large tech monopolies dominate,
Traditional education struggles to keep up, and new labor categories emerge: human AI collaboration specialists, digital productivity coaches. 3. Power and agency. The AI industry and global elite dictate economic structures. Governments struggle to regulate automation, and individuals without AI-related skills have little bargaining power in the economy. However, decentralized worker cooperatives emerge, pushing back against corporate AI control.
4. Cultural and psychological perception. Younger generations see this as an inevitable evolution, whereas older workers feel displaced and powerless. There is a split between those who embrace AI augmentation and those who resent it. Many workers feel their identities are being erased as machines replace human craftsmanship. 5. Conflict and tensions. The tug-of-war between AI-driven efficiency and human labor rights intensifies. Corporations resist UBI, arguing that workers must retrain, not rely on handouts. Grassroots movements fight for worker protections, digital labor rights, and ethical AI development. 6. Narratives and belief systems. One side believes AI is the greatest economic accelerator in human history, while another sees the commodification of human intelligence. Society debates whether productivity equals purpose, or if work has lost all meaning.
7. Archetypes and deep metaphors. AI is the new oracle, the machine priesthood dictating economic life. The old world of human work and identity fades, and the myth of the self-made person is replaced with the algorithmic citizen. How this works in world building. Now, let's say we are creating an entire speculative world rather than a single scenario. We can use spectrum layered analysis to build a deep, textured world where multiple futures coexist. Step 1. Use SLA to map the world. Define the visible and hidden structures shaping the world across the 7 layers.
Step 2. Identify coexisting realities. Apply Spectrum Foresight to show how different groups experience this world differently. Step 3. Populate with scenarios. Use the layered world as a foundation to create multiple scenario narratives that explore the future through different lenses. Step 4. Using spectrum-layered scenarios for strategic action. Now that we've designed our future worlds, we ask, what do we do next? Scenarios aren't just an intellectual exercise, they're a tool for making better decisions today. Once you have multiple futures outlined, you can test strategies against different possibilities. If you're a business leader, does your plan hold up in each scenario, or does it only work in one? You can identify warning signals. If a particular future is unfolding, what early indicators would signal that shift? Develop adaptive strategies. The goal isn't to pick a winner scenario, it's to be prepared for multiple possible futures. Think of scenarios as a stress test for the future. They help us move beyond gut feelings and make smarter choices in uncertainty.
Why this approach works for Spectrum Foresight.
It avoids rigid, single-story futures. Instead of picking one dominant scenario, we build a rich, multi-experiential world that accounts for coexisting realities.
It highlights power structures and agency. Understanding who holds influence and who resists makes for stronger, more actionable foresight. It deepens world building. Whether used for strategic foresight, storytelling, or speculative design, SLA creates immersive, multi-layered futures that feel real. Now, some final thoughts.
Traditional scenario planning forces the future into a single path, but in reality, the future is layered, multi-experiential, and deeply dependent on perspective. Spectrum-layered analysis allows us to see beyond dominant futures and explore the interwoven, multi-perspective nature of change. The Spectrum Foresight approach helps us see beyond dominant narratives. Instead of choosing between transformation or collapse, we recognize that both are happening at once to different people in different ways.
So here's your challenge. Pick a major trend: AI, climate change, geopolitics. Instead of asking what will happen, ask who thrives, who struggles, who resists. Challenge yourself to design not one, but multiple overlapping experiences within the same world.
So here's your challenge. Take any major trend, climate change, automation, geopolitical shifts, and map it across these 7 layers. Instead of asking what will happen, ask how is this future shaped and who experiences it differently. In our next episode, we'll explore how to move from scenario design to real-world action, applying foresight to decision-making, innovation, and strategy. Until then, keep designing, keep imagining, and as always, think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.